People have been asking me, how do you go through and just understand what you want to build and then build it? Understanding what it is you want to build, how to build it, and the outcome you're going to get is one of the most important aspects of even doing AI and automation for your business. Because if you don't know what you're going to do and you don't know the end result you want to get, how are you expecting to make any money, make something that actually makes sense, and then have it be used by you and your team? Well, in this video, we're going to walk through exactly how to get your first automation set up, getting it started, and the why behind what you're doing so that we have a better idea of the real process and the concepts behind what it really means to embed and start bringing automation into your business. We're going to use an example in this one so I can help you out. This is just going to be a starting point. Ideally, by the end of this video, have a solid understanding, and then you should be able to start taking these key concepts, digesting different parts of your business and using it to start automating different parts of what it is that you do. So we have a consistent problem, right? One of the easy ones is building your first little automation. In this instance, we're going to talk about doing a welcome sequence for people who fill out a form on our website. Maybe they're filling out one of the subscribe for updates forms, or they're sending up to a contact form, which is important for a sales follow-up. I think of this as a sales form submit follow-up sequence. And as we go through this here, right, one of the big things that we want to start with is focusing on clearly understanding what it is our goal is. Understand our end goal before we just go and start going into Make or going into Notion or N8N or some fancy tool that can help you automate something. Let's take a step back and understand what it is that we want to do. Do we know where we want to do it, and what is that end goal? Keep the initial understanding of your goal simple. I want to send an email when someone fills out a form. When someone fills out our newsletter sign up form, I want their name and email to be saved to a spreadsheet, and I want to get them a welcome PDF with a download. Then maybe you can progress and be like, I then want it to be passed to a salesperson, or I want to add them to this other long-term follow-up campaign. But those things can be done once the initial build has completed. Think of a V1. You're wanting to get to a solid working version 1 as quickly as possible so you can then improve and iterate to get to your goal and improve your end result. So think of it this way. You want to start mapping in a human flow. We have two basic concepts, linear and non-linear flows. These are different ways of doing automation. In most videos that you see that I also would probably show you most of the time is going to be a linear flow, which means you're following a set path from one end to the other. A non-linear flow is quite literally what it sounds like. It can have a series of steps, but it will branch and then come back and branch and then come back. And not every piece of that puzzle has to be used to get your end result. It doesn't have to use every piece of the puzzle to get the picture, right? For many of the things you guys want to do, look at it in a simple approach. So in this example, when someone goes in, fills out a form, I want to get their info and send them an email. Now let's talk about that more detailed linear approach. Person fills out a form on my website. They're going to fill out their first name and their email, and that data is going to be passed to a Google Sheet that I own. I want to get a Slack message about the sign up. They're going to get a welcome message with a free download email. I want to tag them and add them to my CRM. There's other steps you can keep adding. You can keep going and going and going, but let's keep it simple for this conversation. Each line then becomes more action in the automation. It's not like it dramatically adds more complexity. Each of these things can be progressively built. By this more detailed and simple approach, you're able to start building a soft version of your map. So once you've done your very soft version of your map, you can then start understanding the types of tools. You're going to go, well, I have something for this, but I don't have something for that. It helps you bring the picture to life of what it is that you actually need versus where you're currently at. Well, if you go, well, I wanted to fill out a form, but I don't have a website, I guess you probably need a website. Put your website together. Maybe I have a website, but I don't have a platform that gives me nice looking forms in the way that I want that matches my branding. So that's maybe a little thing you got to solve. Well, I have Google Sheets, but I don't know how to pass that data from the form to Google Sheets. Maybe you need something like Make or N8N, or you're going to use Python and code it, or you're going to use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to do an API call and pass things through. There's a bunch of different ways to solve your problem. You want to have an understanding of the concept so you can replace tools as necessary and not be locked in to one specific way of solving it. Because one way might solve it, but it might not be the most effective way for what it is you want to do. We want to start understanding the tools in our toolbox and outlining what we're trying to do and start filling it in from there. Once you've done that, you've got your idea, you've got the soft map, you've got an idea of your tools. You then want to go through and start testing it with real data. Take a fake customer or be your first customer and start going through the workflow. Test it out. Use the dummy data. Maybe you build the form, but you don't build the actual automation just yet. You just want to go, okay, they're going to fill this out. What in there needs to be done? What was missing? And then I want to go and do this. And then I want to do that, right? You want to clarify what each of those steps are. Then we can go through and start putting it together in something like Make and put the pieces together. You start connecting your puzzle. Then you can go through and test again. That way, from your first time, which is just manual, and then your second time using the actual automation, you're going to find that you actually have got a good, clear path of what that can look like. Then go through, start connecting everything, mapping it all together, making sure that your inputs and your outputs are properly tied in. Often you'll find that when you start doing things, I can get this form data, I can get their contact, their first name and their last name. Maybe you've simplified it to 2 fields. So you've got name and email. But then you find that as users are actually using name and email, they're only putting their first name. But maybe your CRM requires first and last name and email address. So how are you going to solve that problem? Maybe that means that you got to change your form to say first name, last name, email. It can completely break your automation. So it's important to go through and do the testing, map it, connect it, test it again to validate and ensure tools are interconnecting as you need them to. Test, iterate, work on improving, take your time. You don't have to rush and throw this together. Understanding the concept and how to solve the problem is more important because you're then going to be able to solve more and more complex problems as you solve the simple ones. And then finally, we want to start working through identifying and then eliminating manual tasks in the flow. Let's say we're taking this example. Someone goes through, they get our welcome email, we pass them the file, we start tracking some of their lead stuff, and maybe do some data entry. But as we go through, we can progressively improve the outputs for welcome emails, typing out that same message repeatedly with personalization. We could automate what the follow-up is going to be. We don't need to curate it. We can just bake it in, or we can have AI customize it. The file sending should just be done. It shouldn't need to be any manual aspect. Lead tracking should be able to be tracked, and you should have thought of what you're tracking, how you're going to track it, how you want to tag it, and how you want to tie it to your CRM. And then manual data entry. Really, most of it shouldn't be there. You should be able to sync the data from your Google Sheets or the input field to your CRM. And you don't just want to create the new lead. You want to ideally mark it as an activity, like, hey, they filled out this form. So you've got context and clarity of where they are and where they've been. So you got to think about those things in areas where data isn't occurring and where unnecessary manual tasks have to occur. So again, think about this process. Look at it being simple as much as you can. Rapid test, rapid development, and then further iteration. Often, if you work with me, I'm always talking about getting to a working version 1. It's not about getting to perfect. If you focus on getting to perfect, you're never going to get anywhere because you're so busy focusing on the tiny details that you don't give yourself the opportunity to build the big thing first and iterate and improve. The little things will be filled in and they will get better, but it's better to have a clear understanding of your process first before you just go off and start building. It's a nice balance. I like to build a version 1 as quickly as possible, but I want to do it with the context and clarity of the big picture. When we start fixing those smaller aspects of the automation, we can do that through our version 2. We get to a thing that works, and then we can make it better. So get to your phase 1, get things working, get to your phase 2, start adding extra pieces like Slack notifications and fancy tagging and tracking. And then maybe phase 3, you can progressively work on even better follow-up sequences. They filled out the form, they get this follow-up, but maybe after a couple days, you do some fancy conditional logic, you hit them with some retargeting ads because you added them to Facebook ads sequence. The opportunities and ideas are endless. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any comments or questions, or would like me to share this with you, let me know. All that matters is that you have the power, knowledge, and independence to take action on your ideas to grow yourself and your business. Looking forward to seeing you guys in another video. I'll talk to you later. Thanks so much.